Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a word you hear all the time, development. But what does it really mean? We hear about developed countries and developing countries, but the idea of making life better, well, that's something that is deeply personal. So let's explore what progress actually looks like.
Just think about this for a moment. Does development, or progress, mean the same thing for a farmer in a village who is hoping for more work as it does for a student in a big city who is dreaming of studying abroad? Probably not, right? And that simple question is really at the heart of what we're going to explore today. So here's our plan. First, we'll see just how personal the goals of development can be. Then, we'll look at how we even try to measure something so complex on a national level. After that, we'll explore what makes a good life beyond just money. And finally, we'll ask a really important question. Is our progress today sustainable for the future? All right, let's jump into our first section. Here, we're looking at why this idea of development isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's all about what different people hope for. This comparison really says it all. For a landless rural laborer, development is about very immediate, very practical things. More days of work, better wages, and a good local school for their children. But for a girl from a wealthy urban family, development looks totally different. It's about having as much freedom as her brother and having the opportunity to go study abroad. Two completely different worlds and two very different ideas of what it means to progress. And here's the crucial point. Not only are these goals different, sometimes they can actually clash with each other. For example, think about an industrialist who wants to build a big dam to generate more electricity. For him, that's development. But what about the tribal people whose homes and lands will be completely flooded by that same dam? For them, it is destruction. This brings up a really big question. If development is so personal, how on earth can we measure it for an entire country? So in this next section, let's look at how economists and big organizations try to do exactly that. Now, while our specific goals might be different, there are some common things almost everyone wants. Of course, more income is one of them, but people also deeply, deeply value things you can't put a price tag on. Being treated equally, having freedom, feeling secure, and being respected by others. These are all vital parts of a good life. So, to compare different countries, organizations like the World Bank often use one big number, per capita income. It's really just a simple average. You take the total income of a country and divide it by the total population. It's meant to give a quick snapshot of how wealthy a nation is on average.
But, and this is a really big but, are averages enough? Do they really tell us the full story? Or is it possible they might be hiding some very important details?
And this table here illustrates the problem perfectly. Take a look. Country A and Country B both have the exact same average income, $10,000. But which country would you rather live in? In Country A, everyone earns somewhere around that average. But look at Country B. 4 people are earning just $500, while one person has a massive $48,000. That is the danger of averages. They can completely hide huge inequality. So it's pretty clear we need to look beyond just income, right? And that brings us to our third section, where we're going to explore more complete ways to understand what development really means for people's well-being. To make this idea really clear, let's take a look at a real-world case study, comparing 3 different states right here in India: Haryana, Kerala, and Bihar. Okay, now, if we only look at per capita income, the story seems pretty simple. Haryana has the highest average income, Kerala is next, and Bihar is much lower. So that means Haryana is the most developed state, right? Well, let's see about that. But now, let's look at a completely different metric. This is the infant mortality rate. It's the number of babies who die before their first birthday, out of every 1,000 born. In the wealthier state of Haryana, that number is 28, but in Kerala, it's only 6. So even with a lower average income, Kerala is doing much, much better on this incredibly important measure of health. So what is going on here? The key reason for this difference is something called public facilities. See, the money in your own pocket can't buy you everything. It can't buy a pollution-free environment, and it can't protect your whole community from infectious diseases. Things like public healthcare systems and good schools, things that benefit everybody, are absolutely essential for a high quality of life. This is exactly why the United Nations Development Program created something called the Human Development Index, or HDI. It's a much more balanced way to measure development because it doesn't just look at income. It combines income with two other vital things: health, which is measured by life expectancy, and education. And just look at what happens when we use the HDI to compare India with its neighbors. It's pretty surprising. A small country like Sri Lanka is ranked much, much higher. And even Bangladesh, which has a lower per capita income than India, has a higher life expectancy. So why does this matter to us? Well, it proves that just having more money as a nation doesn't automatically mean people will live longer, healthier lives. The choices a country makes about public health and education are incredibly powerful.
But there's one last piece to this whole puzzle, and it's a huge one. It's not enough for a country to be developed today. We have to ask ourselves, is this development sustainable? Can we keep this level of progress going for our children and for their children too?
This quote really captures the whole idea perfectly. It forces us to think about the long-term impact of what we're doing today. Are we using up our resources in a way that leaves nothing behind for future generations? Let's make this real. There's a serious problem of overusing groundwater. In India, 300 districts have reported that their water levels have dropped by over 4 meters in the last 20 years. This is a classic example of unsustainable development. We are using a critical resource much faster than nature can possibly replenish it. And it's not just about water. The same thing applies to non-renewable resources. At our current pace, the world's known reserves of crude oil could be gone in less than 50 years. This really raises some fundamental questions about the kind of future we are all building. So to quickly recap what we've learned today, first, development means different things to different people, and sometimes those goals can even be in conflict. Second, average income is a useful starting point, but it's incomplete because it hides inequality. Third, to get the real picture, we have to include health and education. And finally, and most importantly, any real development has to be sustainable for generations to come. And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. When you look at your own community, your village, your town, your city, what do you think is the single most important developmental goal? Is it better roads? Is it more jobs? A cleaner environment? The debate on development continues, and it really starts with each and every one of us. Thanks for watching.